Dear students, today topic we are going to see about debugging techniques as well as debugging challenges. So generally debugging defines it is a process of checking errors, as well as after finding those errors we have to correct those errors. So generally error happen in both side, software side as well as the hardware side. So it is an embedded system, it is a combination of both the code as well as the hardware circuit. So both side we have to check whether the program is running, whether the program is working correctly or not, whether the program has to produce the expected results or not. Similarly, whether the hardware circuit is working correctly or not. So everything we have to check. So let me see one by one. So first one is software debugging tools. So by using this tools or technique, it is possible to check errors happen in your program. And the first one, serial port tool. So we have to check whether our program having any error or not. Also after finding error, so we have to diagnose those error also. So we have to rectify those errors. So this serial port tool, this is only possible to check the program having any error or not in the initial stage. So at the beginning state itself we have to check. So by using this technique, so we have to check the program status with respect to initial state itself. And the next one is breakpoint tool. So we have a length of code or piece of program, say number, our program size will be 15 lines. So I want to check the first 5 lines alone, whether the first 5 lines of program having any error or not. So I have to specify the clear address. So each and every line of program having certain address. So I have to verify the first 5 lines of program. So I have to initialize I have to check the first 5 lines only. So I have to mention from what stage to what stage. Say for example, from the first line to 5th line. So I have to mention clearly about the address of these two fields. So once I specify the address, and then while you do the debugging process, so the program execution will be breaked into some part. Say for example, I want to check only 5 lines. So our program will be executed only first 5 lines, and if those 5 lines having any error, that will be immediately shown by our compiler. So it is very important thing while you are going for breakpoint tool concept, now specifying the address. So once the address is specified, so immediately the tool which is going to monitor our program status, and it has to examine whether the first 5 lines are having any error or not. That should be executed immediately. Yeah, so here we can have some example. So this is very important thing regarding the specification of the memory or address. Then only it is possible to monitor our program status. So here left hand side you can see. So here we have a program, and there is corresponding address also, that is 400. So the instruction will be multiplication, that is R4, R4, R6. So this state exactly, there will be a multiplication operation takes place between two registered content R4 and R6. Result will be stored in R4. Similarly, so we are performing the addition operation. So the content of register R4 will be added with R2. Final result will be R2. So similarly, the next one is addition, and then finally we are going for the loop functions. So here in this for statement, I want to check the first 2 lines. So this arrow mark indicate exactly. So here this specify breakpoint tool. So our program, while the program will be executed, so at the time the first 2 lines will only verified. So while you compile the program, while you want to check the program status, the first 2 lines only executed, and if the lines having any error or not, that will be specified very clearly. And the next one about the hardware debugging tools, the same way, both the code as well as the hardware circuit, both things we have to check whether even hardware, even though we are using some hardware module or tools, hardware circuit, again there will be some possible there happens any error. So under the first tool we have a microprocessor circuit emulator, that is ICE. So So it is a type of specialized hardware tool that will help you how to check error with respect to your hardware circuit itself. So here in case of in-circuit emulator, so it is a special type of the microprocessor that allows whether our hardware registers, that is internal registers, having any error, any fault or not, that will be verified. That is with the help of the ICE. And the next one, logic analyzer. So this logic analyzer, that is the next type of tool we are using in order to check the errors happen in the hardware part. So here this logic analyzer are going to analyze set of input samples, and finally the result will be displayed with respect to display unit, and with the help of the clock signal only it is possible. Let me see how the logic analyzer will work. So here you can see the logic analyzer architecture. So there will be a clock generator. So this clock generator will generate the reference clock signal, and based on the reference clock signal, the system will receive the input data, and the set of samples will be collected from your input data, and with the help of the controller only it is possible to check whether the data is having any error or not. And the memory, everything will be stored in the memory itself, and finally the result will be displayed whether our data having any error or not. And what are the working modes with respect to logic analyzer? How the logic analyzer will analyze your data, in what mode it is going to accept your data. So we can have two different type of modes, state mode and timing mode. So state mode is nothing but so everything the data will be verified, received by the analyzer based on the reference clock only. So if the analyzer will work under the state mode, so with respect to clock signal, for each clock signal it has to take only one sample. So that is the predefined condition if the analyzer working under the state mode. So only one sample will be verified or will be considered for the analysis process. And if you go for timing modes, so with respect to one clock, you can take several number of samples, or you can take more number of samples with respect to clock period. So you have to compare to state mode and timing mode. It is possible to give more number of results. And what are the challenges while you go for debugging process? It may be software side, it may be in the program side, or in the hardware side. So generally, what type of challenges we are going to face? The very first thing is the errors. So in a software, generally, if the program length is 10 to 50 lines, it is possible to ask to find the error. Suppose if the program size is very large, so if you are taking lengthy program, so it is somewhat very hard to track the errors, so because of the length of code length. And sometimes if your processor working with respect to real-time data means, so for finding the errors with respect to real-time programs, it is somewhat very difficult process, because everything have to work out within the deadline. Suppose if you are missing the deadline entirely, our debugging process going to be very difficult one. Sometimes if your program runtime will be very too long, means even though at the time also you can't able to get the expected results. Okay, so thank you students.